Hello fellow Blenderers, this is Peter here with PM Designs. This is the second regeneration video, like healing factor, whatever you want to call it. And in this one we're going to do like bullet wounds or a big gash, like a sword gash or something like that, or like whatever. So I've got Deadpool for this one. I'm going to just tell you now, I got this one from a website which allows me to remove his clothes. I'm not going to say which website that is, but that's why it's a very buff version of Deadpool. But it just means I can take off his top, and it makes things a bit easier when trying to do this regeneration effect. And also I had to edit the model a bit to get rid of some extra pieces which we don't want to be showing on YouTube. So yeah, I'm just going to hide everything. To make this easier, I'm just going to keep his body visible. And he's got this really dodgy head. I don't know what happened there. I guess he's wearing a mask, so it doesn't matter. So let's get straight into it. There's the rig. Don't need the rig at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to do a bullet wound first. Really easy. In fact, if you're not doing a regeneration effect, you might want to just see this, how to do a very easy bullet hole effect. So I'm just going to add in a cylinder. Okay, and I'm going to scale it down on the X and Y, on the local X and Y. I've got my orientation set to local, so I can just scale it like that. And now that looks rather dodgy, and I'm just going to rotate it by 90 degrees and slot it in roughly where I want him to be shot. So let's go with something like that. I don't need it to be that long, so I'm going to scale it on the global Y like that, and I'm going to apply the scale, only apply the scale. I'm doing this in Blender 3.3, by the way, because if I do it in an earlier version, the Boolean thing won't work properly, but that means my screencast keys are a bit buggy, so bear with me. I'm going to make this bullet hole a little bit bigger than like a real one, just so you can see the effect clearly. When you do it, you could do a bazooka hole if you wanted to. So I'm going to tab into edit mode and cut a whole load of loop cuts in there. The more the better, okay? And what I might even do, I might subdivide it, but we'll do that later. This is going to be the bullet hole, basically. And what's going to happen is we're going to scale it. So we're going to keyframe it at this size. I can just do that now, keyframe the scale, go forward like 120 frames, scale it on the X and Y local axes down to 0, and keyframe that scale. So that's gonna just shrink down. And as it's a Boolean, that's gonna heal it up. Okay, that's how it's gonna work, but that's the basics. Let's make it look a little bit better. So add my Boolean modifier here to the body, and select the cylinder as the object. Let's move this. We're going to title this cylinder as bullet wound, and I'm going to move it to a new collection, which is going to be bullet wound. Okay, right. And just for now, I'm going to set this to be wireframe, so we can see what's happening there. Yeah, so I've got a bullet hole going straight through him. If you wanted to make it like just, you know, a little bit deep, all you'd have to do is, you know, put it there, and maybe you'd want to make the edge a bit rounded, and so you've got that kind of thing going on. Yeah, but I'm going to put it all the way through for now, and let's just make it look a little bit better. Let's shade it smooth, and let's give it a displace modifier. Okay, and now it's gone crazy, so we're going to add a cloud texture. Okay, and we set the cloud texture size to like 0.1 for now. Okay, let's see how that goes. And then we're going to go to our modifier and bring the strength right down to about 0.1. All right, so now we've got some, you know, it looks a little bit nasty. I'm pretty sure bullets don't leave a perfectly smooth hole as they go in. So the other thing I want to do is, as he heals up, I want the insides to kind of blob around a bit. You know, like I want little bits of flesh to start coming up faster than other little bits of flesh. So the easiest way to do that is to use an empty to control the displacement here. So set my cursor to selected here, and then add an empty. I'm sorry, I'm a bit sick at the moment, so sorry if I sound a bit rough. Apply the scale of the empty. I'm going to rename the empty to bullet wound displace, and I'm going to move it into that same collection with bullet wound. Pretty sure I renamed this bullet wound, but I guess I didn't. Right, so I've got bullet wound, I've got the bullet wound displace, yeah, and so on my displace, my bullet wound cylinder displace modifier, change the coordinates to be object, and then I'm going to choose that object as the empty here. Okay, so what that does, if I just grab my empty here and scale it down, you can see it kind of messes with the inside of it, and it makes it much more of the cloud effect there. It increases the strength and the density of the displace modifier. I can also rotate it, so if I rotate it on the global Y or the local Y, it also rotates the insides. So as this cylinder heals up, and if I rotate it, it will start to get all like funky on the inside. Okay, so it's a little bit large now, so I just bring up the mid-level of my displace here a little bit, bring it up. That will decrease the diameter of my cylinder, and then maybe something like that looks a little bit better. So now this is gonna, as it plays, it's gonna close up. Yeah, but like I said, I want the empty to affect these little globby bits. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to keyframe the rotation of the bullet of the empty, bring it forward slightly to whichever frame it was completely closed, like that, and then just rotate it slightly on the Y. It doesn't matter, just a little bit will do. Yeah, something like that, and then keyframe that rotation. I can't even see what I did, but I'm sure it worked. Yeah, so I've rotated it 67 degrees. So now as it closes up, don't worry about these shading things, we're going to fix them in a minute. As it closes up, you know, the inside flesh will also move around a bit, and it looks a bit more disgusting, basically. So that's the principle. You can get in there and mess around with that as much as you like. The other thing we need to do is shade the inside of this, which is easy. If as long as you're not using anything earlier than Blender 3.1, if you're using a Boolean modifier, whatever object is causing the Boolean, creating the Boolean, will transfer its texture. So all I have to do is give my bullet wound cylinder a bloody, messy texture, and it will transfer to the inside. Okay, I'm not going to spend too long on this. I'm just going to give you a basic idea of like a nice bloody material. So I've got my bullet wound selected, my cylinder. I'm just going to create like bloody insides, whatever. And all I'm going to do is a Voronoi mixed with a noise, add a mix RGB, and plug in a color ramp. I've got a new mouse, it's a bit stiff at the moment. Okay, and we do need, well, we don't need it really, but you just need to make sure that this is set on either generated, the vector is set on either generated or object. If you do it on UV, this won't work. Right, let's give this some horrible colors, like a nice really dark red, and a not so dark red. Okay, and we're just going to increase the scale of both of these textures to something like that. Yeah, and you start to get that kind of effect going on. What we could do is add in another color if we wanted to, or manually increase. I think I'm going to get some, switch these around. Something like that. And then I'm also going to add in like a bit of a pallid pink, something like that. Just a little bit. Just find where I want to put it. Maybe something like that. Bring down the roughness, or bring up the specular, and also I'm going to want a bump node on there, set to like 0.2 probably on the strength, and maybe inverted as well. Yeah, that'll do for like this basic thing. Might just switch those around a bit, increase the specular, bring down the roughness. Yeah, and then what you could do while it's when the animation is healing up, you could change these Voronoi texture and noise texture into 4D, change them both into 4D. And what I'm going to do is add in a value node, which will be connected to both of the W factors for those 4Ds. And then so you can keyframe this, so as it heals up, it'll kind of move around and look a bit more disgusting. Yeah, so that's just a very basic insides texture for you. So that's one way to make this look a little bit better, is to add displace. Okay, for let's say you wanted to be a bit more disgusting and show like the muscles healing up first and then the skin following behind. Yeah, just maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you're sick in the head like me. So let's just hide this for a moment and click on the body and hide this Boolean effect. So I'm going to select this lovely torso, tab into edit mode, go to the front view, and I'm just going to circle select some of the faces here. Doesn't matter, just a rough area. Okay, and then Shift and D to duplicate that. Press P to separate by selection. Okay, and I'm going to title this body insides. Okay, tab into edit mode on that. Press A to select all, and then hold Alt and press S, and then just move your mouse down a little bit. And what that'll do is shrink the faces. Okay, so if I hide that body, I've got this little piece of body here, which also has the Boolean modifier on it. I'm just going to pop back into the shading tab, add a new texture to this, which I'm going to call muscles, or we could call it flesh, whatever you want to call it. And you know, this bit you don't necessarily have to do it this way, but it's just an idea. I'm going to make it look like there are muscles under there. So I've got a wave texture and a color amp, and I'm basically going to make this look like muscle color, so like a little bit sort of pallid purple, somewhere like that, and pinkish with a wave texture. Plug that in there. Whoops. Plug the wave texture into the color amp into the principal BSDF over here. Okay, because I've got other materials on this, I need to tab into edit mode, select all, and assign that muscles texture. All right, then I'm just going to switch it to Y, so it goes across, or even like that, because it's on the stomach, that might look all right. Give it a little bit of distortion, so it's not perfectly neat, like that. And I'm going to decrease the scale, that's too much distortion. Decrease the scale a bit, so I've got fewer, like these, what I'm going for is these, the striations, like the lines in the muscle. Okay, and so that's a little bit dark probably. Bring it up somewhere like that, and I'm just going to crunch this a little bit closer together. Okay, and then just add in a bump node. This is very rough. Yeah, I know I've said this a few times. You can spend more time on it, but I'm just giving you some ideas. Or I'm hoping to give you some ideas. And let's set this on B-spline and set the strength to like 0.3. Something like that. Looks not too bad. Bring down the roughness. You could also, if you wanted to, well, let's do it while we're here. Add in a Musgrave texture and a noise texture. Add in a, oh, that's not a, sorry, white noise. Add in a noise texture, a normal noise texture. Then add in a mix RGB and a color amp. Okay, pop that into there, pop that into there. And we're going to add in a mix RGB, add that in down here, and we're going to choose the second color to be blood color, whatever color you want to choose for that. And then this is going to drive this this Musgrave noise combo is going to drive, why is it not connecting? This new mouse is really annoying. It's going to drive the factor here. Okay, so then if I set this to constant, okay, and what we do is put it more towards the noise side and bring up the size of the noise quite a lot, and you see we start to get these kind of bloody spots. Looks like blood splatters. Maybe the noise is too high there. We want a bit more blood. Yeah, something like that. That'll do. Yeah. So if you wanted to make this more specular as well, you could use this mix here to control the specularity of it, but I'm going to leave that like that. Looks all right. Yeah, we've got some blood on there. All right, go back to layout mode. Okay, so now this is pretty easy. This already has a Boolean modifier on it, but I need a different Boolean object. Yeah, so bring back my original Boolean and my original body, and click on the body, enable that Boolean so I can see it. Yeah, and it's not showing because yeah, the insides are there. So just enable that as well. So I'm going to call this bullet wound skin, and then duplicate the whole collection and call it bullet wound insides. Okay, then click on my insides part and set the object to be that new bullet wound, which I can name bullet wound insides. Okay, then go back to my first bullet wound, which I'm going to change to bullet wound skin, and I'm going to just grab these keyframes. Basically, if you haven't keyframed it yet, you would just animate it to be delayed. Yeah, that's way too delayed probably. All right, then clicking back on my insides. All right, so now if I go back a little bit, yeah, we can see that that starts to heal first, and then the skin will catch up afterwards, which maybe is an effect that you want to go for. Yeah, and just bear in mind that you would have to, if you wanted to, you would have to change the color of that second cylinder, which is going in as it goes in. Yeah. Another thing we could do is keyframe the displacement here, so it gets more disgusting as it goes up. Yeah, so we've got that effect going on now. And right, that's quite good actually that happened. If you ever find that during your keyframes, during your animation, suddenly the Boolean disappears. Let's see if I can find that frame. Yeah, like there. What that is let me hide this one, is that there's not enough edges there making contact with the face. So if I just slide this back, you can see that fixes that. Okay, so that's maybe you need to add some more edges in, or just relocate your bullet wound cylinder. Anyway, right, so the last thing we need to do is make sure that his clothes don't heal. Yeah, so let's bring back his top. Very easy. So we're going to add a Boolean modifier to that one, and we're going to duplicate one of these collections, doesn't matter which. Don't need the empty in that new collection. I'm going to call this bullet wound clothes, and just delete those keyframes. Well, delete those keyframes and select that new bullet wound as the object. Bullet wound clothes. All right, and make sure it doesn't get animated. So now you've got a massive hole, which is far too big. Yeah, what we can do is move it, shrink it down, and then relocate it so it makes more sense, something like that. Obviously, like I said before, my bullet wound is very big, just to make it clear for you guys. But yeah, just make sure it doesn't get animated, and as the bullet wound heals up, it looks like that. It's quite cool. Right, something very important now. I forgot to do it in the last video. I did it, but I forgot to include it in the video. For all of these new objects, the cylinders and empties, they need to be stuck on your rig. They need to be parented to your rig, so to follow the character as he moves around. So let's bring up torso tweak, probably about right. Get the name of this bone, tweak spine.003, okay. And I'm going to select all of these, come down here to object constraint, and I'm going to add a child of constraint, select the rig, and what was it? Bum, I forgot. Tweak spine.003, clear inverse, set inverse, and then copy to selected. All right, so now as I move the character, the wound is going to follow. All right. You do get some shading issues on there, but when it's textured, it's fine. Okay, so that is our bullet wound healing effect, which doesn't look too bad. Like I say, I'm just showing you the principle. You can take a bit more time to make it look good. Spend a bit more time on that shader and get it looking gory. And so now let's do like an arm gash with a sword or something. I'm going to hide this Boolean effects and hide all these bullet wounds, just so it doesn't slow everything down. For this one, I'm going to use a cube. It's going to start off as a cube. Okay, from front orthographic view, tab into edit mode, X-ray, vertex select these two, and I'm going to scale them down to where the 3D cursor is, which is conveniently right in the middle. SZ0. Okay, and then press All and MB, join by distance. So now these are joined. Yeah, and then I can Control and B, add a little bevel here. It's going to be a blade, so you don't really want it too beveled, but it will work a little bit easier if you have a slight bevel on there. I can also scale the whole thing down on the Z, because this is going to be a blade. Like, if it's a perfect blade, it's just going to be completely flat, so that's not really worth doing. But I'll make it a little bit of a triangle. Okay, and I'm going to apply that scale. Well, I need to scale the whole thing down first, and then scale on the y-axis a little bit, and then apply that scale. So now I'm going to get this lined up with where I want it to be. So I'm going to, I don't know, stick it in his arm, something like that. If there's a skeleton inside, you would need to do some work on that as well, but I'm not going to do that now. All right, and then what I need to do is tab into edit mode, add some loop cuts across this. The more the better, and just drop those into place. All right, and then all we're going to do for this one, we're going to apply the scale, again, not the rotation. Pop back to the beginning. Hide this Boolean effect, pretty sure I did. Right, and I'm going to insert the location keyframe, go forward to where I want it to be healed, and press G and X, local X, so that way I can move it straight out and apply that location as well. Okay, so that's what that's going to do. And if we add another Boolean on here, I'm going to name these. So I've got Boolean, bullet hole Boolean, and then I'm going to add a new one, which I'm going to call arm gash Boolean, right? And the object is going to be this. And again, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this arm gasher, and put it into a new collection, arm gasher, just so everything's well organized. All right, so now if we bring this in here, yeah, and I'm going to set this on wired view as well. Take that away. Yeah, you see what's going on there. We're getting this gash, and also I can give that arm gasher the same texture, the same material, which was called bloody insides, wasn't it? Okay, and that's basically it. But again, you know, let's make it look a little bit better. Yeah, so that's going to heal up like that. What we can do on this one, on the arm gasher, we can add a displace modifier, which is here. Whoa, again, clouds always looks good. You can mess around and find something else which you think looks good. If you find one, please, you know, drop it down in the comments, let others know. Yeah, we just need to find a happy combination here. Right, if this happens, yeah, right now I should not be able to see that. If that happens, that means either the strength of this place is too high, or again, like the bullet hole, there's not enough geometry, not enough mesh, actually, not geometry. So I'm going to add some vertical cuts here, and some vertical cuts. Oh, sorry, not vertical. Why won't it let me do it up here? There we go. All right, it doesn't matter about this side. Okay, so what I've done now is I've got my display set up to how I want it to be. So on the start keyframe, we got a beautiful clean cut, which is maybe a bit unrealistic. Maybe we can set it to like 0.001 or 0.01. It's struggling because there's not enough, you know, not enough mesh here to create that Boolean. Plus I've got all the displace going on. So what we can do is adjust the mid-level here, just down a little bit, something like that, until we get the wound to start to appear. Then we just turn off that displace. Yeah, right, so now I'm going to keyframe my mid-level and my strength, go forward a little bit here. It has disappeared, which doesn't matter. It's completely disappeared because it's way out there. Let's just bring it a little bit closer so that animation happens a bit more slowly. Okay, and then keyframe that location once I've fixed it. Right, so now if I just go back to where it's just about to pop out, it should be about there. Okay, just inside there. I can then increase the strength just a little bit to like 0.1. Okay, keyframe that. So now as it closes up, the displace will start to kick in and it will make it look a bit more natural instead of it just looking like a completely clean cut healing up. Yeah, like that. Maybe that's, yeah. And I could also keyframe the scale. So go back to that beginning. So we can also keyframe the scale here, keyframe that scale, go forward to, yeah, we're about here, and then I'm going to scale it down on the local Z. Yeah, keyframe that. Okay, so we get a few more kind of transformations going on. It's moving out, it's scaling down, it's displacing slightly, and it just looks quite nice, quite disgusting. One last thing you could do with this one actually is if we just go right back to the beginning here, I can add a shape key. Yeah, so let's do that. Add a shape key. Okay, tab into edit mode. Okay, and bring up the influence of that shape key, the strength. And from the top view, let's hide, well no, let's keep him for now. Tab into X-ray. I'm just going to grab a few of these, just kind of randomly. Yeah, and then back in front view, turn on proportional editing and move them on the local X. Just increase that area of influence slightly. Yes, it kind of gets something like that. Not too bad. All right, so then back at the beginning, keyframe with no influence. Keyframe that, come forward to when it's just about to leave the body and put that keyframe on and insert, sorry, put that shape key on and insert a keyframe. Yeah, so I'll just move that keyframe forward a little, that shape keyframe forward a little bit. And so hopefully what will happen here is we'll get some bits of skin healing randomly. No, not quite. Okay, so didn't quite work. It's not a problem. Go back into edit that keyframe and I'm going to move those bits up again, but with much less influence because I just really want them to be separate from the other pieces. And what I might do is bring some of these pieces back down.
6.5 hours later.
So as we bring that up now, right, and again we've got a problem here, so that's okay. We just need to adjust the shape key until it fixes that. Keep going. Oh, it happened again. Adjust the shape key or move the geometry, yeah, or add more cuts, whatever you have to do. Okay, keyframe that fix, and it happened again. Keyframe that fix, and then one more time, yeah, and find the place to fix that. Keyframe that. Okay, so now we've got that looking pretty decent. That's, you know, this is a really perfectly smooth cut. So if you want to start off, just add some displacement there. If you want to make it look a little bit rougher, but you know, if maybe he's been fighting with a super sharp sword, it would look like that. So let's just see roughly how this looks. This is something that I was hoping would happen by adding that shape key to the arm gasher, the sword or whatever, by just making it kind of zigzaggy shape. We've got this little effect going on, which I think was quite nice, having some bits of skin close together before others. And I think that looks really, really good, basically. If you wanted to do it like, if you know that Neo's mouth closing in the Matrix, getting sealed up with loads of sort of strings of flesh, you'd have to really subdivide your character mesh and your arm gashing device. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going for there. It looks quite nice like that. But yeah, that's it. So we got the bullet wound effect, and we got the knife sword wound healing effect. That's part 2 of this regeneration series. The next one is going to be like growing back an entire limb, growing back an entire arm or leg, or a head. You could grow back a head with this method. But yeah, so if you found that useful, please drop a like. If you didn't, please let me know why down in the comments, and I'll try and do better next time. I'm terribly sorry, but thanks very much.